recording? Okay. Hey, everybody. Hurry, listen in. I don't know how much time we have before whoever's office this is comes back and starts knocking on the door. So let's hurry. Okay, jokes aside, I am not much for written statements or speeches, but I have prepared something I'd like to share with the chess community today, addressing comments that I made last week on a podcast newly launched by Hikaru Nakamura and Levy Rosman, titled Over the Board, when we got into a natural, very off-the-cuff, casual discussion about the origins of Lichess and its founder Thibault, as well as his relationship with the Chess.com founders Eric and Jay, and a completely separate company, an entity they worked on together known as Exercise.com. I said some things and shared what I thought was actually true, and I learned in a discussion this week in some back and forth between Thibault, the team at Lichess, and Eric and Jay that I was actually wrong, and with that, thinking I was right in terms of what I implied, definitely said some things that could have been misconstrued, and so I want to address that and make sure that everyone understands where the relationship stands and address directly the facts that I got wrong. So without any further ado, please allow me to jump right in and deliver my apology and hopefully give you, the community, some further answers into the discussion that was opened up and bring some closure to the matter. So here we go. I would like to address some statements I made on the podcast last week, Over the Board, hosted by Hikaru Nakamura and Levy Rosman. I was a guest on that podcast and at some point was asked to discuss the relationship between Thibault, the founder of Lichess, and his relationship with Eric and Jay, the founders of Chess.com, and the founders of Exercise.com, a project they worked on together. At the time, what I said was what I thought to be true and what I thought were the facts. However, I've come to learn that I was wrong, and I want to both apologize to Thibault directly, as well as clarify the factual statements that I got wrong. Thibault was working on Lichess for 2 years before joining Eric and Jay, the co-founders of Chess.com, to work on their startup idea, Exercise.com, which fizzled out in 2014. I was wrong on that podcast when I said, at some point, Thibault decided he wanted to make a chess website, and unfortunately, he came to this conclusion while still working at Exercise.com. Things were complicated and messy, and long story short, Thibault decided he was not going to work for Exercise.com anymore, but was going to work on his own chess website. What I'd like to clarify and apologize for is that I did not know, I was not aware, that Thibault actually started Lichess, and it was even public before he joined the team at Exercise. I'm sorry for this, and I want to apologize to Thibault, as well as the implications that that statement may have implied to some people and that it may have been misconstrued. I didn't know I was wrong at the time. And while that is true, I still want to say I'm sorry to Thibault for the insinuations that Chess.com may have inspired Thibault to start Lichess in any way. That is clearly not true, and again, I apologize. Additionally, I nor anyone at Chess.com believes that Thibault did anything wrong while he was working at Exercise.com or around the Chess.com co-founders. Eric and Jay want to affirm that while they were not happy when Thibault stopped working for them at Exercise.com, they understood his passion for the new code he had learned and do not begrudge him leaving. Additionally, Jay and Eric attribute 100% of Lichess' success to Thibault and his hard work, and do not believe that Thibault's time at Exercise or around them as Chess.com's founders had any material impact on Lichess. The only really interesting part of this story, and what I meant to divulge, is that at one point, Thibault, the founder of Lichess, did work for Eric and Jay in a close manner, the founders of Chess.com. They worked together on a totally unrelated project, Exercise.com. Nobody did anything wrong. It's just an interesting coincidence. I was sharing it in a very casual, tongue-in-cheek manner, and again, sharing what I thought to be a correct timeline. Both Chess.com and Lichess, however, were started independently of each other at roughly the same time, and it's just interesting how their stories briefly intertwined, even for only a moment. I've since learned more about the story, and I want to expound on that timeline a little more because people are also asking for more details. So, on that note, here actually is the breakdown of the timeline that I've come to learn and was confirmed in regards to the relationship between Lichess and Chess.com. Jay, Chess.com CTO, and Eric, Chess.com CEO, started working on Exercise.com in 2009. This is a few years after starting Chess.com in 2006. They did this because Eric had recently started getting into fitness, and they wanted to see if they could build an online fitness community. Eventually, the startup fizzled out, and they sold the company and the domain name. In 2010, however, Jay and Eric contracted with a development shop in France, which specialized in Symfony, which is a framework for PHP. Thibault, who had already been working on Lichess, was assigned to work on Exercise.com as part of the contract with that French development company. Not long after that, Thibault actually wanted to join exercise.com full time. So Jay and Eric obliged. They actually spent quite a bit of money to buy out his contract with the French company and get him a visa to go to California to come work locally for them. For 9 months, Thibault did work locally in California at the exercise.com office. This was also used from time to time as the chess.com office. I was there many times. There were conversations, open conversations about both companies, casual, technical, whatever, but nothing beyond the normal professional banter and ideas that would naturally be shared in this kind of environment. Some chess programming concepts were discussed, but nothing materially or particularly sensitive. Thibault actually lived at Jay's house for a time, and what I said was true. I remember seeing him in the backyard meditating. I can also share that Thibault taught Jay's kids not to be afraid of spiders. Shout out to the man, Thibault, for doing that. Jay also remembers riding bikes with Thibault often, as Thibault really did enjoy that, and Jay wanted to share one particular memory where they had a great ride, and Thibault was spreading his arms out in the wind saying he feels like he's in a movie. Jay wanted me to share that. So they had a friendly and a good relationship for quite some time. However, after the 9 months of working locally in California, Thibault let Jay and Eric know that he had fallen in love with a different code stack, this was Scala, and he no longer wanted to write PHP. And with this as being such, he was going to leave exercise.com. Honest, truth be told, we want this to be a full sharing of the story. Eric and Jay were disappointed, upset about this. Nothing to do with where Thibault was going, but just the fact that they had obviously invested tens of thousands to bring him to the States, and they were using this time for exercise as a pivotal, critical moment, and they hoped that it was working out with one of their more talented developers. But while they invested to bring Thibault to the team, their upset was only because they were losing a talented developer. Thibault left exercise.com and immediately started rewriting Lichess and Scala. Yes, he did work consistently on improving Lichess as a side project for the next many years, but also worked for many other companies. People know this. Thibault did this until he could afford to go full-time with Lichess, as their success has been amazing, and eventually he was able to do that. Thibault, Eric, and Jay have kept in touch frequently over the last 2 years, and the truth is, the relationship is cordial. So, that's the timeline. And again, this is meant to not, because I don't want this to seem like, well, what's going on here, right? This was the full story and what I was meaning to imply, right? These were two ships going like this. Lichess and Chess.com had been started, then they had intertwined on a completely separate entity and gone back, which is fascinating if you're a member of the chess community to learn and understand that. That was what I meant to imply, and with that, I did make the factual misstatement that Lichess was started while Thibault was at Exercise, and it was what I thought was true. Knowing now that I was wrong about that, regardless of the discussions or what ultimately came to be now with Lichess and Chess.com being what it was, the project they worked on was completely separate. Nothing unethical happened. There is no grudges being held in that particular sense, and I apologize for the implication I made in saying that the departing of ways was complicated and messy. It was, but just due to the relationship with exercise.com, not because of anything else, regardless of the very interesting facts now that as we look back at the origins of these, two awesome, what I believe, two of the best chess sites in the world, with Lichess and chess.com, it's an interesting story, and one that I was trying to share the full behind the scenes of it. But given where we are now, and given that I made a mistake in what I said, no hiding from it, and I will always face the music, especially when things like that happen that are mistakes, and that's what I'm here to do. Apologize again. Let everyone know more of the story, and again, just hope to move on from this and say that it's an interesting one, a fascinating tale of two chess websites and their time together on a separate project. And I was just there as the lowly chess player wandering around, wondering if chess.com would ever be good enough to win Eric and Jay back from exercise.com. But here we are now. So thank you everyone for taking the time to listen to this, and peace and best wishes again to Thibault, the Lichess team, and everyone in the chess community. Let's get back at it.